And good morning and welcome to Touch Base Daily. My name is Ron Foster and today is Motivation Monday. However, it is also Indigenous Monday. Indigenous Monday holiday celebrating the indigenous people of the Americas. What's going on? How are you all doing today? I said, today is a holiday. Do I go on? Do I not? But then most of us are at work. We're working. We're doing our thing. We still work on Columbus Day. It's just a day of a parade that they have here in the city. What's going on? Aya is first in the building. What's going on? Grand Rising at Ron. And then I see Roshan is in the building. She says, good morning, Ron and Touch Base Daily family. And third but not least is Anthony. Anthony says, good morning, all the way from Texas. Mr. Anthony Rowland. Chris is in the building. There she is. Good morning. And you see Mr. Bryson is in the building. What's up, Ron? What's up, RLV family? What's up, CQ fam? Happy Money Making Monday, aka Make It Happen Monday. Okay, and we have Derek. Derek is in the building. What's going on, Mr. DT? And we have Mimi. Mimi Morning. She says, good morning, Ron, RLP crew. Yes, we are here. We are here. We are here. And it is a Motivation Monday. There's a whole lot going on in the news. I have to tell you, I am not... this weekend I did have a great weekend. I have to say, I did have a great weekend. I got out. I did some apple picking on Saturday, and we family time, and it was great going up to New Paltz, New York. However, I was taken back by the place that we always go to, and what they ended up doing was doing a surcharge to enter the property when you're going to spend money anyway. I usually spend almost $200 every time I go apple picking. The reason why is because I get cider, I get the apples, donuts, and then we eat there. We have food. We have my brother, he gets the brisket, and I get the pan pizza. I was a little taken back by that little $5 charge. I know it was only $5, but why would you charge people $5? It was the first time they did it. I wrote about it. You know I did. In my review, I said, this is unacceptable. I said, you would have been smarter to just raise things 50 cents. And they didn't raise prices on everything. So everything was raised prices. Then they charge you $5 at the door just to get into the place, when you're going to pay money to get the apples anyway, and you're going to pay money for cider, you're going to pay money for pizza and food and all other stuff. Just saying, not a good business decision on their part. But I love them. I love going up to them. But next year, maybe looking for a new apple place. You cannot, especially in today's, everyone feels pushed and pulled financially. Everyone's out to get everybody, to get every dollar out of everyone, and you feel it. And it's not cool. I didn't think it was cool. You making me pay to spend money here, even though it's $5 a head. So anyway, maybe I'm being petty. Who knows? I see who's in the building. Who just walked in? Hannah is in the building. She says, good morning, Ron and RLP family. Kelly A is in the building. Good morning, everyone, she says. And Serena is in the building. Our wonderful writer and is in the building. Good morning from the DMV area. It's right. And I see in here, I see all the highs and the loves and all that good stuff. I see Elise is in the building. Good morning. Elise had to comfort me this weekend. She didn't realize she was comforting me on some level, because I am very discouraged by Americans. I have this weekend was a weekend, one of those weekends that I just, there are days you try to, you say there's hope for for America on some levels, and this is not to be Debbie Downer. This is just real talk. And I just sat there and said, we are in the election of our lives. It could not be more contrast. And it's a tie. It's a tie in all these toss-up states. It's a tie in the national. And I don't understand how a criminal could be tied with someone that's a vice president and has integrity. And so brings me to there's something fundamentally wrong with our country. There is something fundamentally wrong when you have Black men, Asian people, white women voting for someone that wants to destroy them. Something is wrong and gone awry in our country. And so I had to say, I don't trust the American public. I was like, I have faith. I really believe Kamala's going to win. I really believe she's going to win. But I was having a moment this weekend when I was just sitting down, looking at the polls and looking at the numbers. I said, how is it possible that 45 to 47% of the voting electives want a criminal that they already know what he's capable of doing, because it's not like he wasn't in office before and people can't remember COVID. They can't remember. Something is wrong in this country. And how do Black men vote for a guy that says he wants to do the purge? That's not good. That ain't good for Black men. Obama, and then some of the people ridiculed Obama for going in hard on Black men on, I think it was Thursday or Friday. And I sat there and said, what is wrong with our country? Our country's upside down. Our country is upside down. How is it that Palestinian people in Michigan are going to vote for Trump, whose best friend is Netanyahu, because you are upset with the Bidens and their policy of trying to build peace? Could someone make it make sense to me? Because I sat there, and I know I'm not the only one. I know there's, like I said, I look at commentators all weekend. And then I said this weekend it was going to be I didn't do as much politics this weekend because I really did need a break. So apple picking was good. Got up in the country, took pictures a little bit, got my bags of apples. My apples will last me until the middle of December. Someone said, Ron, are you going to make apple pie? I've never made an apple pie in my life. However, I go apple picking every year, and I've been going apple picking for the last 40 years of my life. Every fall, I go apple picking. And it was so good to be out in the country. And I did run across one guy that was wearing he was wearing his Trump hat, and I was like, oh, okay. Now I purposely did not wear mine this weekend. I said, you know what? I'm not going to do politics. I'm going apple picking. Send you the link. Okay, let me send you that link, my dearest. Let me send it to all you guys. Hold on a second. Let me send that out to y'all, my wonderful ladies and my gents out there. Definitely my Elise and Gwendolyn. because they help me make sense of life. Thank God for them. Gwendolyn, I'm sending one out to you as well. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, awesome. Okay, there we go. I just sent that out to you, ladies. And but yeah, I said, make this make sense that our country in mass is okay with the guy that locked up children. The guy that said he is going to initiate, I think the act of 1798. It doesn't go well for people of color, but yet they're voting for this guy. Someone please make it make sense. We are living in the world of bizarro. She said, I'm getting it from a run. Okay, Gwendolyn's just getting it from the run. And she said, I don't watch that stuff and I don't trust polls. Oh, yeah, we don't trust polls, but sometimes the polls are right. I have been chatting with family and friends about their plan to vote. And I wonder what are they saying? What are your friends and family saying, Gwendolyn? Are they voting? Are your family and friends voting? Bryson says, I saw that he was oh, this was crazy. I saw that he was at Coachella at the desert, and then the buses left them behind, and Trump supporters were definitely upset. He left them in the dust, literally. He left them in the dust. Hey, Elise.
Hey, Ron. Yep, he left them in the dust. They had one bus, and then that one bus driver said, I'm done.
He left them in the dust, and it was dark, and they could not figure out how to get home. They didn't know how to get home.
They get their exercise, walk that 5 miles.
Oh my goodness.
It was 5 miles back to the parking lot.
I said, oh my goodness.
He doesn't, they haven't learned yet. They don't learn yet. He doesn't care about them.
He don't care about no one but himself.
Yeah, the fact that you came out of your Orange County or wherever y'all came from, because there's plenty of them out there in California.
Yes.
But you came out of there, and he left you all. Y'all mad. Y'all big mad. But he didn't care because he had a motorcade.
He had a motorcade.
And it's dark outside too.
And when the cars roll out of Coachella, the dust, it's a dusty place. He literally left them in the dust.
I keep telling people you're getting hoodwinked and bamboozled out there. And he just wants you all to show up. He just got you all out there. And but I'm going to still vote for him. He didn't meet. Yep, he did it. He left y'all in the dust. He didn't pay for the buses to come back to get you. He didn't pay for the buses to come back and get you. That's how stupid they are. At this point, you got to call a spade a spade. These people are just showing how crazy Americans can be. And then when you were talking about the people in Michigan, they either gonna not vote or they gonna vote for him, whatever. I understand that he had a Muslim ban the first time.
The Muslim ban, and this time it's going to work because there's no one to stop him.
And that's what somebody had. And one of the black guys on a show, and he sounded like he was supporting the Republican rhetoric, but the person in there said, but the last time he had people who stopped him. The guy was like, "You're right." And she said, this time he's not going to have anyone to stop him. That's true. Of course he's not, because they're going to all be loyalists. They're going to do what he said, because that's the whole purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just for those people who out there, you see people at Latinos, for these people in Michigan, that man stood on the stage Friday and talked about that 1798 Alien Enemies Act, where any country they deem to be an enemy, they don't have to give you any reason.
Nope.
They can, and people have to understand that's how a Japanese got to put into internment camps.
Internment camps.
They got put into internment camps in America for that reason. And these people need to understand, you're not going to be released into the public. You're not going to be given any kind of restitution. They're going to send you back to wherever it is. And I don't know where the ones who are Palestinians going to go back to, because
they'll have no place to go back to.
But so you're going to live in an internment camp. You're going to be sitting in there doing hard labor for people.
Because that's where they want to go.
Understanding the picture. I want everybody, when I heard that, and where I heard it is that, and nobody, and think about it.
The media did
really
not
talking about it.
Thank you.
The media talking about it.
You didn't hear it this morning.
I went to listen to him say it. And anyone that's wondering how to find it. Yeah, and if anyone wondering how to find it, you can find it on YouTube. You can find
1798. Just go. That's right. All you gotta do is put in, like I just said, 1798 and Trump.
Enemies Act.
And Trump.
And then you get right.
There it is, right there.
Yep. And you can look the details up on. You can Google it, as they said. You got the biggest resource in the world. Google whatever you want to do. You can look it up, and it tells you exactly what it is. And I put the summary.
A piece of it right now. You know I'm going to share a piece of it.
Yeah, share that summary, because the summary.
People need to see it. They need to see it. Here it goes. I think the People magazine just had it out today.
Everyone should have it out.
Yeah, it should be out. It should be. Oh, let me see. Let me get this here. Share entire screen.
It is crazy, isn't it, Gwendolyn? That thing.
Here it is. Donald Trump is vowing to evoke a 226-year-old law to justify mass detainments and deportations in the United States, saying that Election Day will be known as Liberation Day if he is handed the keys to the White House. The Alien Enemies Act of 1798 is a wide condemned immigration law that gives the president sweeping powers to bypass equal protection and due process while targeting foreign citizens. When it has been invoked, it has led to human rights crises that history looks down upon. But the law has not formally been repealed by Congress. In a recent social media post after speaking in Aurora, Colorado, about immigrants, Trump wrote, "We are now known all throughout the world as Occupied America. But to everyone here in Colorado and all across our nation, I make you this vow. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America," referencing a few prominent instances where American people were killed by non-citizens. Trump said he will put these various and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them the hell out of our country. And it goes on and on, his speech from this weekend past. And yes, and every time it's been used to cause all kinds of anguish in America. And America is not proud of this act, which still, just like the lynching act, trying to get rid of the lynching. It took them until 2 years ago, last year, to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think lynching is a bad thing.
You would think.
But no, the southern states wanted to keep it. And here it is. It says here it is. Let's bring it down. The Alien Enemies Act of 1798 is best remembered as the law that allowed President Franklin D. Roosevelt to place Japanese,
right,
Italian, and German immigrants into internment camps during World War II.
Right.
Whether or not they were affiliated with military action from their countries or origin. The Alien Enemies Act and complementing authorities have allowed presidents to target people on the basis of their identity, not their conduct or the threat they pose to national security, writes Catherine Jan Ebright, a national security expert for the nonpartisan Brennan Center for Justice. In 1988, when Congress apologized and provided reparations for Japanese internment, and Black folks still waiting for theirs.
Look.
It acknowledged that the policy was rooted in racial prejudice and wartime hysteria, not valid security concerns. She continues in her recent article, which centers around the dangers of the overly broad 18th century law. Congress would later describe Italian internment as a fundamental justice. And the Department of Justice would recognize that German non-citizens had been targeted based on their ancestry.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it says that like the part of when they do the summary, it says the law permits the president to target these immigrants without a hearing and based only on their country of birth or citizenship.
Yep.
They're not gonna go here. And I want people, I want to know, how do we get that message, especially to the population in Detroit, in Michigan, that says this is what they're gonna do, and they're Palestinians, they're from Arab countries, which he considers those countries to be our enemies. How do you get that message to help them understand that this is about you? This is going to be you too, because he had a Muslim ban in his last administration.
Yes.
He's promised to bring it back this time. This time, because the people behind him have researched the law that they can use. Now, he didn't research this. They gave him this to say. This is their new thing, is to say this. So he has this. He will say, all of y'all they're going to round you up. They're going to round you up.
Yes, they are.
They're going to look for your country, where you were born.
They're going to your records. They're going to go to they're going to find out where you were born. And I have these conversations with some of my friends.
Your friends.
And one of my friends has a Haitian friend, obviously. Right. And he's all for Trump. I said, how is it possible that you are for Trump when the man says you eat dogs and cats?
And why does he say he's for Trump?
Because I had a better economy under Trump, which I'm so glad. I hope people start talking about it more. Is that wasn't Trump's economy?
Right.
Like Obama says, he said that was my economy. He inherited a great economy.
Absolutely.
He inherited. And people don't understand the economy. I say it over and over again because the economy is a lagger of policies. So when most people think Trump did such a great job, that was not Trump. That was the policies that Obama put in for 8 years. The first 4 years cleaning up the country from Bush.
Right. The first 4 years was cleaning that up.
The first 4 years was cleaning it up. It takes 4 years to clean up the mess of the person before. Also, though, it takes 4 years to enjoy the accomplishments of the previous 4 years.
Right. And and Biden has spent the last almost 4 years cleaning up behind him, where he left that tremendous deficit because the rich people were getting he gave that tax break, which ended up causing a bigger deficit. People don't understand how the economy works. They don't understand how this economy works. And then the ones are, I my money this. Okay, so that tax bill also impacted you in a way too. So you don't have money, you didn't learn that you need to save some money because you asked for something. And you got it. But you didn't get what the rich people got. You didn't get that tax break. And he's already promised them. You've seen video of him promising his billionaire friends that he's going to give them yet another tax cut. And so people just don't want to hear it. I mean, like a Haitian at this point in time, a Haitian person at this point in time said they're going to vote for this man after he's said all this horrible stuff. So what he'll do is because they've always been after the Haitians, what they're going to do is say that they fall under the 1798 alien enemy, and he's gonna put them in cages and send them back.
Yeah,
that's what he's gonna do to people.
And he's promising 10 million. 10. Can we all wrap our heads around what 10 million looks like? First of all, economists are saying you will cause this economy to spin out of control in a downward because America needs immigrants.
It'll collapse. If I put it this way, let 11 million of them stop doing their job today. Just 11 million of them.
Yes.
Stop today. We wouldn't be able to do anything.
Nothing. We would be stuck.
And then the same thing with black. Those 11 million immigrants that he's talking about, and black decided not to go to work today, nothing would move in this country.
Nothing.
You wouldn't be able to open anything.
You would have no food.
Right.
No meat. Most of the people in the meat factories and Tyson factory and all these other factories with meat, immigrants. All the people on the farms picking your strawberries, your cherries, your apples, all the stuff, immigrants.
Right.
And people don't, white folks don't do it. Black folks don't want to do it.
Right.
But guess what? If those immigrants are kicked out, guess who's going back to the farmlands? That's part of Project 2025.
Right.
And guess who's going back to the farmland and no overtime? Right. Project 2025. Guess who's going back to the fields, y'all? Guess who's going back to the fields?
And people the people in the industry don't even understand the thing about tax and tips, right? They understand the thing about the overtime. I want them to go read Project 2025 so they can understand that you won't have to worry about because you won't have the overtime.
You won't have any overtime. He even told you in his speech last week.
Right. And that you'd have to work, 160 hours?
160 hours.
To be able to qualify for overtime. And then your overtime is going to be put into PTO, your paid time off. And then it's going to, once you get that paid time off check, it's going to be taxed. So that's all a lie. It's a farce. And people need to read that. And I think it's just, people don't want to know. And I, as I said, I'm not discouraged about her winning. I think we have to make sure we focus on the fact that the House and the Senate comes into play because it's going to be very critical. And they're already saying you could lose Senate seat because, in West Virginia, that's that former governor is running out there because Manchin stepped down. But, and although he's crazy, he was useless most of the time anyway.
Useless. We could have got so much done under the first 2 years if it wasn't for Manchin.
And that one, what's her name?
And the one that's in Arizona that was crazy.
The one in Arizona. So it's just like you just have to. I just would love to talk to sit in the middle of these people. I would love to sit in the middle of the people out there in Michigan and say, let me talk to y'all. And turn the mics off, turn the cameras off. Let's have a real conversation about what your reality will be. And there's no mistaking about it. Black people, your reality will be police officers who have immunity to do whatever they want to. Your reality will be you can be harassed. And under Project 2025, you will not be able to file equal rights claims. You won't because it says you will not be able to file those things. They'll get rid of that office. There will be no office that will hear whether or not that your lack of a job or promotion was based on race or sex. That won't even be considered. They're not even going to collect the data.
Nope. And there will be no need for human resources. Like your home human resource department, gone.
And so people, it's the face of
people don't understand it.
And I think that people have to understand, if you were to see your Haitian friend, let him read the act from 1798.
But you know what?
Help him understand.
So far gone. He is so far gone. It is truly just like that. We saw that man pleading for his father to get aid from FEMA, mm-hmm. and his father wouldn't take it because the lies. Right. These people are in a cult, but not only the people that are in the cult. We have failed our Black community as a whole. Mm-hmm. I know people like to rally and say things about the Jewish community and all that other stuff. I commend the Jewish community on this. There's some things you could say I don't like and other things, but I tell you one thing I do love about the Jewish community, and there's many reasons why I love the Jewish community, but this is one main one. They never cease to educate their kids.
Right.
about the Holocaust, about Passover, about they live every year, every other month in recognition of something going on in history for their people. And the children have never missed not learning the center of their culture and what has happened to it over the centuries.
Right.
And Black people, we have, in some ways, we have forgot the civil rights, and the civil rights, the marches and the beatings, the lynchings, the killings. And Black folks are going to run to the hand of the man that is supporting white supremacy. We failed. We have failed as a society. Our Black men, our Black daughters are a little bit more educated. But some of them are crazy too. I look out on the street. I see them right here in the public housing and on the street corner. And the stuff that I see and hear them speaking about, I'm just like, we're doomed. But that's because the parents of the parents did not teach the struggle.
Right. And we didn't have, we have to look at the structures, right?
Yes.
So the Jewish people have a structure.
They do, and they make sure they have a structure.
Within their synagogues, and they have an education structure in there, right?
Yes. In every level.
We've never had that education structure that we controlled.
True.
We've never had that structure that we control. And then for some people getting over, and I tell people, I'm not embarrassed to say I'm the descendant of formerly enslaved people.
That's right.
That's who I am. That's how I was created, because of that my ancestors. And I think we have to move past it, and we have to stop. Unlike the Jewish people, Black people are told to get over it.
True.
They're told to get over it. The Jewish people aren't. And one of the reasons that they say that, as far this is my opinion at this point, is because it wasn't done here. Slavery was done here. And so they're quick to tell us to get over things because it was
get over it.
And they continuously figure out how to manipulate us. And we can't, and we just fall for it. And that's because we've always been fighting.
But you know what, Elise? Think about it. Look at who you are.
Yes. And
look at the education that you continue to share with people. Look at, you didn't just, I'm sure your dad and your mom didn't give you all of your education about the civil rights movement and all the pain and suffering that Black folks went through, and slavery, and all the people that came to our country that went through and got, were beat down and by the system and yada, yada, yada. We researched. We got off our dusty tails and we opened up a book.
So my beginning was different. I was born in Tuskegee, Alabama. So all of my education was about Black people and what they did. My Moton Field was my playground. Tuskegee Institute, which is before it became university, was a place that we went to all the time, where we could learn about the Black scientists. We learned about George Washington Carver. We knew all about Booker T. Washington. They had events, and they took us there to teach us our history. In the 7th grade, we did a play on Daniel Hale Williams, the first open heart surgeon in America. So that was my education, in a way, was different. But remember, it was segregated back then. So we got whatever books were there, but we also had teachers who told us who we had to be and who we were. So it was different than a lot of my first formative education years were different in that way. So it was things my parents didn't have to say, and they both stopped being educated at the 8th grade. But we had a community of educators who were all Black, who were making sure we knew some things, and that was different there. And when moving to Ohio, there was no system of people there to do that. Because I was now in a school where I had my first white teacher. It's like, hey, white people teaching me now. And so I had my first white teacher.
Wow. What was that like to have? Because you grew up with Black teachers.
All Black teachers, my principal.
And then you ended up with a white teacher. What was that transition like for you?
I think it was fine because the part of Cleveland that I moved to was pretty diverse. So it wasn't like I was in a majority white school, which I think was good for me because I think I would have lost my mind if it was nothing but white kids in that school. But and so meeting her because she was such a good person was different because she was a very good person. She didn't talk down to anyone in the class. So she met us and taught us where we were. I mean, she was a good teacher.
Yeah, so I remember
it was always different.
My teacher was Miss Stone. I'll never forget Miss Stone and Miss Moore. Miss Moore was my 9th grade teacher, and Miss Stone was my 7th and 8th grade teacher. And Miss Stone, these are 2 Black teachers. They were one of the only 2 Black teachers in my junior high school. And Miss Stone, I mean, she used to walk around with her little whip, like that little thing snake thing that you tied and created. Yes. And she was quick to use it and quick to call your mama and say she did. And she would say to us, which was very unique because I remember it to this day. It was her words. I was 14 years old. And she literally changed the course of my life and how I saw education. And she said this: I am a Black teacher. I am not here for the money.
Right.
I am here to educate you. She goes, now there's a lot of folks in this building that don't look like us. They're here for the money. And you heard them say, I'm going to get paid no matter what.
Absolutely.
And she would say, I am not here for the money. She goes, I am here to make sure every one of you leave my class educated. And if you choose not to, that's on you. But I'm going to do my best to educate every one of you because there's 2 types of teachers. Teachers that want you to succeed and teachers that want to just get paid.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's still true. It's like it's 2 types of looking at public schools now in DC. There are 2 types of they're the leaders that want their students to be successful and to be grounded. And then there's the people who just want the title of principal. And I've always been aware of that. And I think that's the thing. Like when I was in the classroom, I was very unorthodox in a way.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The conversations I had with my kids, the papers I had them to write on African-American scientists, mathematicians, and inventors. And I was a math teacher. So and making sure they did it correctly. That was important to me, that they came out knowing how to communicate properly, even though they like, oh, you're a math teacher. I said, but mathematicians have to use English. And if we pursue our degrees, we have to write papers. And so just getting them to understand that, but them being so excited when they found out all of this information, because they had only heard about slavery, enslavement. They had only heard about those things. And I was in the top high school in DC with my last 2 years of teaching. Those kids were not being taught, and it was majority Black school. They were not being taught Black history.
That's right.
So they learned it in my class. I said, we're going to learn this today. and they had an assistant principal who came and she got the blues from the principal and the other assistant principal because she put Black history stuff in the hallways. And the name of the school was Benjamin Banneker High School. How could you not teach Black history in their environment? And so it is up to us as a community. But even when we look at it, you take Asian, we don't have a Saturday school. We don't have a place. Our churches
was our hangout though.
So Eurocentric.
Yes.
That they're not teaching us about ourselves. Unless you go to AM. That's why, as I looked at the pieces on American churches and religion, right? As I read more about it, and it still interests me because I'm not one. Why are we all AMEs?
Well,
we understand how that came about. It came about because these people were helping the people in the church, and they would not allow them to speak in the church.
That's right.
Be leaders in the church.
That's right.
So they broke off and became the African
Methodist
Episcopal churches.
Yep.
And so, and one of the biggest ones is here in DC. So, but we don't understand that history. It came of the racism within the church. And people, I see Black Mormons. There were a time until, what was it, the 70s or early 80s, where the Mormons wouldn't even let Black people, they didn't even want Black
They
people
wouldn't even let
anywhere
them
near their
in.
churches.
Yes.
And they didn't want you in their temples. They didn't want you anywhere near that. And then now they're riding around on these bikes in your neighborhood. And I look at them every time I see them. I don't have anything to say.
They used to ride through Best
Because I know your history. And a part of it is that we don't know people's history.
Yeah.
And we follow. So our churches, the education that those Jewish children are receiving are in their synagogues.
Yes.
They educate them right there. We're not educating our children in our churches on why they should be proud. Yeah. On who they really are.
But the problem is also now is that there are very few kids that go to church.
And there's a reason for that. I told my pastor why they don't go to church, but that's different.
Yeah, there's a whole nother story. But the thing
is, if you were getting something out of it.
If you were getting, for instance, when I grew up, we went to school. And like I said, Miss Stone, Miss Moore, I'm telling you, our classrooms.
Said she know a lot of Mormons in Utah, and they've changed. They may have changed, but their history is the history. Lots of people have changed, and I'm going to say that loud and clear. They've changed, but their history is there. There are lots of white folks, and a lot of them have changed. We can say that same thing for white people, right?
But then also,
we can say that for any group of people. If people change, but their belief at that point in time is they didn't want anything to do with Black people.
But still, even you will see no leadership in the Mormon church. There are no women, I think, in leadership, and there are no people of color in leadership in the Mormon.
Well, you know church. How they feel about women too. So
yep. So there's no women and there's no people of color.
There's women too. Yes. Even our churches are that way about women. My church,
yeah, same thing in Black churches. Yeah,
ministers, but they won't have women pastors.
Yeah, or in some churches they won't have women speak. Period.
Right.
Because women are not supposed to speak in the church.
Which is where they're headed back to, as far as these people are concerned. But anyway, that's a whole different story.
You took us down another road, but
I'm not trying to go down that road. I just want us to understand.
But when I went to school, though, and I just want to go back to that, is when we went to school, the supplement of youth in the city of New York were the churches. Because we went to church for basketball. We went to church we had basketball teams. We had the drum and bugle corps, because all the churches used to compete against each other here in Brooklyn on Brooklyn Day. And we had all of these surrogates while our parents were working.
Right.
We were at church after school, or we would go to events on Saturday. We had the Boy Scout, we had the Cub Scout, we had the Girl Scout, and all that was at the church.
Right.
All of that was at the church, and we literally lived at the church. And then I remember my pastor was one from the Laurie family, which is from Georgia, which is their movement with Martin Luther King. So the Lauries were all very big here. And so I went to Zion Baptist Church, was known for its prestigious Black culture. And so we even had the big days where they had the Masons come out, and then they would have the parades. Hey, Brian. And they had the parades, and they had all of the Black folks walking down the street with their white gloves and their Mason outfits and proud to be Black.
Right.
And it was
the Eastern Stars were the women.
Yes, right. And the Eastern Stars were the women. Yeah. And they walked down the street with their white gloves and their white jackets and white dresses. And they still, like, there's one little church that does it here in the neighborhood, and you'll see it once a year on Fulton Street. And back when I was a kid, it was hundreds of people. Now it's basically about 50 people that walk the streets to keep the tradition alive. And all the people, except maybe 2 or 3,
right,
are old.
And that's what I was going to say. So much of it, they got older. People moved away. All that stuff it happens. And and I'm not. And let me be clear about like religion and stuff. I don't normally talk about religion and there's a good reason for it, but a lot of the religions were that way. The Catholic
Church was too
big in slavery. They made a lot of money off slavery. They and then there were the Christian Crusades. They were all of that stuff, and that's why so many people look at religion as some people, like, they don't go to the organized forms of religion.
Yes.
They're more looking at other ways of doing that. And we just have to, for our people, for any people that wants their people to remember their ancestry and who they are, you have to take control of that education, because they're not going to, they have no reason to help you do that. They have no reason to teach you about Mansa Musa. They don't have a reason to teach you all those things. They don't have a reason to teach you the true lineage that you came from on your African side.
Or especially, for instance, people still don't know that most of what Europe is today is because of the Moors. Mm-hmm. Most of the good things you see in Europe is because of the Moors. The Moors created the buildings, those edifices, and they created the arch. So all those things that you see in Europe, they was also, I know this is going to be controversial, but it was the Moors that taught people how to bathe. They taught the Europeans how to bathe. They taught the Europeans to do a lot of stuff.
Thank God for the Moors.
Thank God for the Moors. And people don't realize that the Moors reigned in Southern Europe for almost 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Could you wrap your brains around that the Moors ruled Southern Europe, Spain, and some areas of France and lower, for almost 1,000 years, 900 plus years.
And most people don't even know who the Moors are.
They don't even know who the Moors are.
There's a group. I don't know if I've seen a couple of videos. So who there's this agreement around the Moors that's been on the books. Mm-hmm. And so they're a group of people who they have the flag. And so they let them know that they're Moors, these Black people. And because of that, whatever that decision is, the government can't really bother them. Mm-hmm. And so it was very interesting. I learned that a couple of years ago. So before
you go on, Lisa, I want to cut. Also when you go to the museum, and you go to the Museum Metropolitan Art here in New York City, our biggest one, I think America's biggest museum, there's a tapestry area. And also when you go to the Louvre in Paris, there's these tapestries. And in these large tapestries are Black people. And they're not slaves.
So when you go to, and you go inside their churches, what they call dormers.
Yes.
And you look at the paintings in those ones at Venice, there are Black people in all of those paintings. And that's also where you hear more about the Black Madonna. You don't hear talk in America about the Black Madonna.
Yeah. And so the Moors did a lot. That's a whole topic by another day.
Front and center over there. They have her front and center over there. And most people had never really heard about the Black Madonna. And I had never been inside of a church and seen a ceiling with so many Black people on it as I saw there.
Wow. So let me tell you, it's when you, and that's why it's so, and this is just one of my pet peeves. What time is it? I gotta get you guys into our Motivation Monday quote for the day. But when it is so good to travel the world. It was just like one of my colleagues on LinkedIn. She posted about the Russian poet. The great Russian poet is a Black guy. Mm-hmm. He's from Africa, and he transformed literature in Russia. And that most of their literature is based on the structure of this Black poet. And she posted it on LinkedIn the other day. And I was like, I just learned about this dude about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did not know this. But that's the beauty of travel. If you can't travel by plane, travel by book. I love when Whoopi says that all the time. She goes, the books are like, they transport her to so many places that she may not ever get a chance to go. But the books can transport you and get you the education, and you learn so much. Anthony says, yeah, in the stained glass too. Yeah, stained glass, the tappers,
Yes, everywhere.
It's you learn so much in the paintings. In when you walk the if you never get a chance, well, I'm on this Paris thing. But if you get a chance to go to Paris and you go to the Louvre, you are going to be blown away by all of the art, and not because of the art, but the precedence or the royalty or the significance of Black people in Europe.
Yes.
And that back in the days before the medieval period, it wasn't even like it's not like we have here today in America where white people don't like Black people and all that stuff. Everyone was everybody. It was just everyone.
Right.
I mean,
and you visit museums. There's the Getty Center in California, out near LA, and inside that they have those panels, the old panels where it was painted and have all these Black religious images in it. So there are a couple of places in America where I've seen them, but not inside of churches. But definitely, if you go to Italy, you will definitely see them.
Yeah, they're all over Europe.
Those those dormers, and
especially Spain. Janet says it was Alexander Pushkin. That's it. Thank you, Janet. It was Alexander Pushkin, who is a Black Russian writer. Look him up, y'all. Which is always so ironic to me that there are racist Russians. Like, well, there's racist Americans. But how Black people have influenced so many parts of society. I could go through a whole lesson on. I mean, I got a chance to stay in Spain, and I learned so much in Spain. I was in 5 cities in Spain, and I just went every couple of days. I was in Salamanca, I was in Toledo, Sevilla, Segovia, and then Madrid. And you learn so much of culture. There's a reason why these places are like Africa is not that far away from Spain.
You take a boat.
You just take a ferry. Or when I was in Malta, and you go to Malta and you see all of these edifices and the cultures and the churches and how it's, or I went to the cell where technically supposedly where Paul was, held captive. And man, I cannot encourage you enough to travel the world. And don't just, obviously I love Africa. I go to Africa. I love Africa. And I want to go to more places in Africa. But it is also good to understand the Europeans and why they think the way they do. And it will give you insight and balance to history.
Yeah.
What you see today has not always been. What you see today is that has transpired over the last 400, 500 years, which is a blip in history.
Right. So and the fact that this is holding on in America.
Well, the Americans want to keep on. They want to hold on to it. They want to hold on to this racist, behavior. And that is something, again, racism on color is a new phenomena in world history.
If you pan out and look at the timeline.
When you look at the timeline of mankind and history, what we're dealing with today is a blip, but it means a lot to us because we're living it. But it wasn't always this way. It wasn't this way. Human beings were not this way. Racism, like we know it today, did not exist. Take it back roughly 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, as we know it today is in America.
Yeah.
It started started because of enslavement.
Yeah.
And it started and the fact that enslaved people and indentured servants and indigenous people were friendly with each other in the Chesapeake Bay area, and the slave owners, those enslavers saw them as a threat if they combined, because if they ever realized they outnumbered them, that would be a problem. So then you had to put a hierarchy system. You had to really activate the caste system, which in America is built on race. So you had to tell them they were better than the other two groups.
That's a new phenomena. It is only happened in the last 200. As a matter of fact, racism based on, slavery based on color is a new phenomena in world history.
Melanin.
Yeah.
How much? How little?
Americans, obviously, it's an American construct.
Yes, it is very American.
The first time in America is the first time in world history that people were enslaved because of the color of their skin. People were enslaved many years, thousands and thousands of years. They capture them. They work for them in Egypt and all the other places around the world.
Right.
But America, in her beauty, in all her beauty, she was the one that came up with color slavery.
To keep
and
you
not
slave,
only that, if you read history, which I got a bunch of these books back here, it's the most cruel of slavery. American slavery is probably one of the most cruel. It's been written that it is the cruelest of all slavery, and then it spread outward.
Right. And it was the one where you could never become, you weren't going to be free. And then once they kind of stopped this slave trade, it became the one that if your mother was enslaved, you would automatically be enslaved.
Yeah, that's all American.
Because of what was happening with the rape and stuff that then to continue to have a population of enslaved people. That's how they were doing it. So that's what they did with that. And I think that, it was because one of the things they talk about in Africa, they had slaves, but they were never enslaved for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Slaves
became
America was you till you died.
But in African slavery and most places around the world, slavery became where you were what they call simulated into society over time. So anyway, I'm not going to go down that class. That's another class for another day, and I'll have to have Elise. I'll have to have Elise give us the instructions.
Amparo, you're absolutely right, and that I always tell people to look at also the impact of whether or not Willie Lynch was real or not. The impact of that letter of saying how to keep us divided is still alive and well. The brown paper bag test, colorism is still an issue amongst Black people in America. Colorism is still an issue amongst us
and among each other.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I meant for Black Americans. I wasn't talking about racism. I was talking about how we colorize each other, how we look at light and dark skinned people. So that colorism is still a major issue that we have.
However, I like the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Anyway,
I know.
That was another subject. Sorry. My godmother said that to me one time because my godbrother was really dark skinned. He felt rejected, and he was, dark skinned.
Yeah.
And she said, "Baby, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice." And we all looked and said, Yeah. And I have to tell you though, as I travel the world, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice.
You've been testing those berries.
I've been a tester. Oh God, that's another subject. Okay, here we go. Let me go straight to Mr. B. You came in, but you didn't chime in. What's going on?
I didn't. I got here late, and you guys were going. I didn't.
You just know. You got to just hop in.
Disrespect what caused me to. I don't know. Struck a chord with me, or spoke to my spirit, and to an extent, you guys are still there, but the education component. And I think we take that word for granted. Education. It doesn't necessarily mean book learning. It doesn't necessarily mean, hey, 2 + 2. No, we all are being educated in some capacity. And Xavier, teach me about this new video game. Hey, Dad, hit this X and whatever. That's being educated. And I think I said this earlier in the summer or whatever, we had a conversation, but to me that comes back to power. educate, when you in theory, when you know more, you do more. When you know better, you do better. When you educate yourself, if you learn how to balance a checkbook, I mean, I don't know if anybody still does that, but
not too many.
yeah,
My husband
but
does.
but you know, and what
Gwendolyn does.
within, when you guys were talking about the Jewish community, more, you know, in broad sense, and so many others, and how did we learn um, about our culture? Why that prompted me to ask to come in was because I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure I'm not the only one that grew up like this, but I feel like I grew up in the structure I grew up in. I feel like it was more is distinctive. Elise and I have a lot of things in common. I was born in Anniston, Alabama. I was raised in Alabama, between Alabama and Tennessee, before we moved to Cleveland. And then from Cleveland, you know, Detroit and around the world when I've worked and lived. And my point with that, that's one aspect, but the family structure in which I grew up in, learning about um, things outside of the public school system. My grandparents were teachers. So my mixed race in the segregated South, which I still haven't figured out how the hell they got married, um, they were educators. My white grandmother warned me about white people, about certain white people. She
Right,
was
certain.
more
There's some
she,
cool, there's some good
yeah,
ones.
yeah, she was more adamant, I think, in some respects, about making sure that I learned about Black culture than sometimes some of my Black relatives. Uh, and as I get older, I can only imagine what they endured. So for me, I feel like within our church, within our schools, within our families, providing that bait of curiosity, because that's what I feel like, that's what my grandparents instilled in me I spent every summer with them up until everybody else started having kids, because I was the first. I'm the first out of my
Okay,
generation
okay.
on my dad's side, on my mom, on the Tennessee side. On the Alabama side, I'm cousin number whatever. But but my point in that is that those two family structures I grew up in, they both were in the civil rights fight back then, Alabama, Tennessee, before my parents got to know each other and met, and then learning about um, uh, what I can't even like about Africa, about where I come from, and then about my white grandmother's side, and so and then when my aunts and uncles on my dad's side started um, marrying people who weren't Black. Like I've got my one aunt, unfortunately, COVID took her. She's Indian, or she was Indian, from India. So my cousins, they get asked all the time, "What are you?" Because of colorism, because of
right.
the curiosity, because their hair is not exactly Black or Indian. Some think they're Italian. Then I have my one cousin who, his dad, my uncle, his last name is Gonzalez. My aunt, who's Black and white,
Well,
married a
the
Mexican
whole,
man.
not to cut you off,
And
but
yeah. So education is what I wanted to
but
share, and that curiosity.
education is so key, and learning about each other and learning about one another and learning about, I mean, there's so much history in all of our families. I mean, I come from a
Absolutely.
mixed family. I have lots of families from different backgrounds. So that's the beauty, but that's the beauty of America. I always say, the beauty of America is that you can have friends from so many backgrounds and learn from so much and learn history and customs. I appreciate my Jewish friends. I appreciate my friends who are Italian. I appreciate my friends who are Irish. I mean, those parts are like my ancestry is Irish, and also is Scottish, and also being in the northern region of
Africa,
from slavery, obviously. Now how it happened, we don't know. Was it a good relationship, or was it a horrible one? But we all have amazing backgrounds. But anyway, we need to get to our lesson, and it's Motivation Monday. It is time to let you guys go. And we are going to, I am going to now go right into our Motivation Monday, and everyone's going to have a good week with this great quote. Thank you guys for popping on.
Stay encouraged, everybody. Stay encouraged.
Stay encouraged. Yes, stay encouraged. We will win.
As Bryson said, we have 22 days. We gonna
22 days.
I think people are gonna be surprised. Yeah,
22 days.
Reminder: Election Day is the end of election.
Yes, because some people are starting this week
right now.
So. Yeah, voting has already started.
Yeah.
I do believe 4 million have already voted, right? 4 to 5 million have already voted.
Yeah. So it's already posted on when we all vote. I put it in my stories, the ones that start this week. So let's go, people. Don't wait till be in that line thirsty and hungry.
And take your family to vote after church. After church, those that go to church still, take your family to go vote after church.
Can I
encourage
to the
polls?
2-3 seconds. Do it. I keep saying it. Each and every one of us has the 3 T's: time, talent, and or treasure. Do what you can. I was out this weekend again. I knocked at the end
Chris
of it.
She already voted.
52. I knocked on 52
houses Chris.
This weekend. I got a mixed bag, but I knocked on 52 houses this weekend. Do what you can.
Yes.
Yeah. That's my encouragement. Do what you can.
All right.
And Power says, my mother and I went all the way back and found the slave owners. They have a website with the history of the cloud name. Wow. I can't. This is a good subject one day. We'll have to dive in. You need to talk about that one, Gwendolyn. Okay, guys, I'm letting you guys go. Bye.
All right, bye.
All right.
And so, guys, here we are. Let me give you this really quick, and then we're going to get out of here. Let me see if I can pop this up here. Let me get it in here, and will it pop in here? Oh, it's going to be small. I don't have my little Zoom tool here today because my little other mousey is not working. But anyway, you'll be able to hear it. So it says Tip Tuesday, how to photograph autumn. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. That's why. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's where we're supposed to be. Okay, here we go. This is a very simple one. Very simple. Here's Motivation Monday, a love affair with life. Here's a motivational message for our Motivation Monday. Life is an endless stream of moments, each waiting to be captured and cherished, says Burk Uzzle, who's an amazing photographer. Once said, photography is a love affair with life, and how right he was. Every photograph is a testament to our passion for living and our drive to find beauty in the mundane. It's a reminder to pause, see, and appreciate the little things that make life so extraordinary. So this Monday, let's channel that passion. Let's fall in love with life again, one photo at a time. Have an inspiring week ahead. And so, guys, on mind, you can pop this off there, is that this is all about a love affair with life. We have to always be reminded to stop, pause, see, and appreciate the little things that make life so extraordinary. And I tell you, with all that's going on in politics, all that's going on in the world, we need to get back to the basics. Some days we have to just stop and pause and think and take in the moment, take in the flower, take in the bees, take in the friendship, take in just holding your partner's hand, take in looking into someone's eyes, take in and just the moment of saying, I love you. Take in the moments. That's going to make you, it's going to make you closer to having an amazing week ahead. Okay. So that's girls club says that's for thanks for the reminder, Ron. Yeah, we're in a chaotic time, y'all. It's going to get crazy. This election is going to some days make you feel like you're going to lose your mind hearing the crude stuff that's coming out and all kinds of stuff that who knows what the October surprises will be. We already have through October, so we got 15 more days before the of this October stuff, but we have 22 days before the election and for the end of the election. So let's make sure that we are diving in. And yes, Mimi says, stay focused. We have to stay focused. We cannot be distracted. We cannot be distracted by the naysayers. We cannot be distracted by the folks that want Kamala to fail. Democracy is on the line. Let's all participate in this great experiment called democracy. Remember, it's not something that's been around for generations. It's something new. We got to protect it and we got to work at it. But again, even in the midst of all the craziness, pause, see, and take time to enjoy the moments. And until then, I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about taking pictures of harvest time, apple picking and harvest time. So we'll be doing photos. We'll be talking. That's our Tip Tuesday lesson for tomorrow. So let's go blue. Operation Blue Wave. There we go, Mimi. There we go, Mimi. Operation Blue Wave. And also, Bryson says, remember, 22 days of Election Day. Okay, guys, see you tomorrow. Thank you for joining me today. This was a great conversation. Thank you, Elise, for sharing your point of view. Thank you, Brian, for always sharing your point of view and your thoughts. It is so appreciated. And guys, make it an amazing day. What do? We live life like we mean it, and we focus on what matters. Okay, guys, have a great, great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.